The next witness is Ms. Han Yen.
Ms. Han Yu, thank you for making yourself available to the tribunal. What is quite an early hour of the morning for you. Please understand that we wish to hear from you by way of evidence, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Han. I understand that you want to make some corrections to your statement. Please go ahead and let us know what changes you would like to make.
The day I saw my father's corpse.
Yes, I understand you want to correct the date.
I want to change the day to June 18th.
Thank you. This was corrected.
Which date is this, Mr. Sabi?
This is the date that Ms. Han went to see the body of her father.
Thank you.
Ms. Han, can you tell the tribunal the reason that you were arrested in July 2015?
I didn't know what was the particular reason I was arrested. 2005, July 20th, about 6 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, there was a policeman knocking on my door.
请继续.
At that time, I was living with a roommate in another practitioner's house. That practitioner was working in the evening, so in the morning when she came back from work and she used the key, she was arrested and then was using her key to enter the house, so we were arrested at that time.
You were detained in the detention center.
After I was arrested, they took all the stuff from my house, including my electronic devices and the books. We had 2 laptops. We had 2 printers, hard drives was all taken. They pulled us out of the bed. We were still wearing our pajamas, and we were then taken to the police station, sit on the chair. There was no windows. I went into the room about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I left the room in the evening without any drinking or eating all day. After I was sent to the detention center, I went through a health check, physical examination. I was put into one single cell. I stayed in that cell for 37 days. And I had 2 physical exams during that time. My family also got a lawyer for me.
Let us know what happened to your father. I understand that your father had been arrested a number of times, but the last time was February 2004. Can you tell us then what happened after that?
In May 2004, I received a phone call from my stepmother. She told me that my father had passed away. I was very shocked at that time. However, because my father was arrested in 28th of February to detention center, we hadn't got a chance to see him. And they told me they were going to have an autopsy. Until June 18th.
Did anybody from your family or anyone else ask or authorize the getting of an autopsy?
No, I've never received any. I was never asked about this, and my stepmother said that she has never gave any permission. They only verbally said about autopsy. They never sent us any documentation about autopsy.
Were you permitted to go and visit your father in the morgue?
Uh, 6月18号的时候
18th of June, the direct families were allowed to see the corpse, and every 2 members are allowed to see the body alternately. So at that time, me and my 2 other family members, the 3 of us, went to see the corpse first. It was with the younger brother.
Tell the tribunal how your father's body looked like. Was there any signs of injury on it?
Yes. At that time, I saw my father's corpse. He looked much thinner than he was when he first entered into the prisoner. In his face, there were traces of being beaten up with the bruises underneath the left eye. It was obviously sunken in. It was apparently being beaten. Left face had seriously bruised. Starting from his throat, there was scars and stitches from the throat until the place I could see where I unbuttoned his clothes, where I could see up till there to his chest. So the stitches and the scars of being opened up to his chest. After that, my other family members went in. They continued to unbutton the clothes. Because when I unbuttoned the clothes, the policemen saw me. They stopped me. So afterwards, my uncle came in. They continued to unbutton the clothes all the way down till his abdomen.
And the stitches continued up to that point?
从喉咙一直到腹部，非常清晰的用黑线缝的。
It's very clearly they use the black stitches, black thread from throat to abdomen.
Were given the autopsy result, were you?
No, I've never received any documentation or report of the autopsy.
Then cremate your father's body?
Yes. We were under policemen's surveillance. There were several police cars. After we saw the corpse, we were under surveillance, and then we went to the crematorium. It was under the surveillance and went to the crematorium directly.
Anybody from your family authorized the body to be cremated?
Because we were so shocked when we saw the corpse, and because of this autopsy, we had some confrontation with the policeman in terms of what happened specifically. I was not specifically involved, but I was just saw from behind. After we saw the corpse, I just know that the corpse was sent to the crematorium, and then it was cremated. In fact, they did not obtain our permission at all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Liu. Could you tell us, in 37 days that you were detained, did you undergo any medical examination?
When I first sent to the detention center, we had some physical examination, but nothing afterwards.
Sorry, I didn't hear your answer. Could you just repeat it?
在我进看守所的时候，在进看守所之前，他要例行一个体检，做了很多项的体检。
When I first went into the detention center, before I entered there was several physical examinations.
Were you charged with any crime when you were in detention?
我没有收到任何判决。
I did not receive any judgment. We had 2 trials because I didn't think I violated any law, so I didn't cooperate. I didn't sign their papers at all. I did not receive any documents or papers up to the time I was released.
Which circumstances you were released?
I didn't know exactly why I was released. Because it was incomplete evidence. I didn't sign any documentation or papers. One of the questions they asked me,
有递过诉状，关于我父亲的事情。对，原告就是最高人民检察院和最高人民法院，我有。
They asked me whether I write to the highest people's prosecutor and Supreme People's Court. Procurator and the Supreme People's Court.
So, if I understand correctly, you think that you were released because they couldn't find any sufficient evidence of any kind of activities that might be considered as crime in China.
That's my guess. The situation in China is such. They have to submit the files within 30 days to procurators. If not, they will not accept the case, then I must be released within 37 days if the evidence is insufficient.
When was the last time that you meet your father?
– 2007, during the Chinese New Year.
So you didn't have weekly or monthly visitations while he and your mother were in prison?
Sorry, she corrected what she said. It should be 2004.
Because in your statement, you said that your parents were arrested in February 2004. I want to know when was the last time that you met your father?
是在2004年的春节期间，也就是在2月28号之前。
2004 Chinese New Year, before 28th of February, that was the Chinese New Year. I didn't quite remember. I never seen my father when he was in prison.
How was his health condition before the arrest?
His health condition was very good. He was very healthy.
他几岁？
他当时应该是40多岁。
He was about over 40 years old.
Could you tell us how did you notify by the authorities about your father's death?
当时没有直接通知我。
They didn't notify me directly. They notified my stepmother, and my stepmother told me. She just told me my father passed away, and there was an autopsy. That's all.
I understand that your stepmother was in prison at that time. Is it correct?
对，他是。
Yes. He was being sent to detention center together with my father on 28th of February.
So, and when did you find out about your father's death?
是我继母在接到通知之后，他打电话给我。
It was when my stepmother received a notification, and then she called me.
In your statement, you
Hold on.
记得是在5月6号。他死亡是在5月4号死的，对。我大概就是在我父亲死后的两天，我继母给我打电话。
My father passed away on 4th of May. It was approximately 2 days after he passed away. My stepmother called me.
Why did you go to the morgue? Did anyone tell you that you would find your father's body there, or any authority called you, any police officers or anyone called you, summoned you to the morgue?
是，当时我们接到通知是，说在那一天允许看尸体，是全程是由警。
Yeah, we were notified about his passing away, and throughout the process, we were under surveillance. They only allow us to see the corpse. And they were going to cremate that day, and then we could see it before that. But they didn't let us take any photos or invite any journalists.
This is my last question, and my colleagues may have more questions for you. In your statement, you said that one of your relatives could open your father's clothes and saw the stitches, while the authorities didn't let you to see the corpse, the whole body. So are you aware of the situation in which the authorities allowed your relative to see the signs of probable organ harvesting?
Mm. 他是这样，他并没有让我们看到，是我们自己解开那个衣扣。
They actually didn't allow to see, but we by ourselves unbuttoned the clothes. And when I unbuttoned the clothes, the policeman came forth directly to stop me doing so.
Yes, I understood that, but how the policeman allowed your relative to unbutton the clothes?
当时场面很乱，不是警察允许的，是在警察不允许的情况下，他们强行把这个扣死。
It was actually a mess in that situation, so we pushed our way through and opened the clothes. They actually didn't allow us. But after that, there were many policemen came in and then dragged us away.
Good afternoon. Could you tell us whether either you or any of your family asked the police or other guards what the incisions or scars were for?
当时，因为他们当时就是我，因为我爸爸是死。
Because my father was in the detention center, and they said to find out the reason of the death, they had to go through the autopsy, and that's all they said.
Thank you very much for making yourself available to the tribunal to give your evidence. This now concludes your evidence, but thank you again for making yourself available.
Miss Yen is our next witness.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, certainly. Thank you very much for making yourself available to give evidence to this tribunal. We thank you for that, and please remember that we are confident and hope that you will give us evidence that is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
我这边声音有点小，
Oh, the volume seems to be low.
有点听不是很清楚。我的声音已经就是最大的了，调到最大。我能听到你说话，但是声音不是很大。好。好。
You can ask question now.
Thank you. Ms. Yin, when did you start practicing Falun Gong?
.我是在
1998, at the end of October, I came across Falun Gong. By that time, I didn't really start practicing, but I came across Falun Gong at that time.
And when were you
听到吗？
And when were you first detained?
我第一次被关押是1999年。
1999, September. It was the first time I was detained in the detention center.
Been given.
我去上北京去上访去了，他说我扰乱公共秩序。
I went to Beijing for petitioning. They said I disturbed public order.
What was the reason for every subsequent detention?
我没有听明白。我第二次被关押呢，是我。
The second time I was detained in 2012. I wrote about the persecution I suffered. And then I went to Beijing to petition, to complain about the local persecution. Then I was arrested, detained again, and sent to re-education center. I asked them, why did you not arrest the people who persecuted me, but persecute myself? And then they ran out of the reasons. They didn't give me any reason.
Did you ever have legal representation?
No, I didn't. 2002. I tried to find lawyers, but there was no lawyers there to defend me, to defend my case.
You've spoken in your statement about being at one of the labour camps that had an underground prison and an underground hospital. Were there other Falun Gong practitioners with you?
有
Yes.
And were you taken to the prison?
对，
Yes.
我是
It was 2001, May 27th. I was being sent to the detention center. So there were two of us were being sent there. They say it was underground hospital belonging to the detention center. I asked what this place was. They say it's Shenyang prisoners hospital. In that cell, there were over 20 female prisoners or someone. I didn't know who they were. It was particularly scary. Near the door, there was iron bars around the door. When I entered there, when they took me in there, we went down there. I was so scared on that day. The staff there was wearing plain clothes. They were not wearing the uniform, and they were all very young.
And just going back in time, in November 1999, you were in the labour camp in Beijing. Did other Falun Gong practitioners refuse to give their names to the prison guards?
是的，
Yes. Well, at that time in 1999, in November, because I was arrested in September when I went there for petition, I was detained locally for 1 month. And then they came to arrest me again afterwards. And I was arrested and detained in Beijing Qingcheng Detention Center. Over there, it was one late night. I could hear a very loud sound of people being beaten up next door. And the supervisor was a policeman. And his voice seems to be a middle-aged, an older man. And he said, because he yelled a code, a number, a code. He said, well, there's plenty of methods to treat you. But the country has so many methods to treat you. If you don't report your names, they will be sent to Xinjiang. And they asked me whether, and another said, these are Falun Gong practitioners. These practitioners, don't give them their names. And I was detained for 5 days. In November 1999, I was there for 5 days, and that was what happened during those 5 days.
The guards describe a war on Falun Gong and that there was a death quota. Can you explain what you understand that to mean?
That was in year 2000, September And 2001, during that period, I was detained in Masanja Detention Center.
一场国际战争，就是说，那苏静说到这句话的时候，我就黑了。对我在马三家呢，就是然后这个苏静呢，他就。
So the supervisor called Su Jing. They always had meetings with several of us. More than one time he was saying that the country has the country utilized the national budget. It's like an international war. When I heard this, I was very scared because they treat dealing with Falun Gong as a war. I was so scared, and I feel so sad. I feel that Falun Gong was so good. Why they treat Falun Gong like a war? And I just feel that the country has no hope. That's how I felt at that time. That person's name is Su Jing. Let me try to find Su Jing's photo. This is Su Jing. He mentioned about this war several times in the meeting. That's how she said that the country treat Falun Gong like a war, and they use all the national budget to use in the war.
In the course of your detentions, you had several different types of physical examinations. You had an X-ray with 50 other Falun Gong practitioners at the same time. What do you recall the doctor saying about the X-ray of your lungs?
The doctor said that these Falun Gong practitioners they say that their chest is very clear, very clean. My understanding is that because we were put together with other regular prisoners, so he said that from the X-ray, it seems that these group of practitioners' body seems to be very clear, very clean. And that's why the first time that we did the X-ray. That's what he said.
And you describe on a separate occasion having an ultrasound with a policeman standing by your side, and the doctor said afterwards that you had nothing in your stomach. Were you given any other results of any of the medical testing you had?
我不知道。
I didn't know. He didn't say this to me. He said this to the policeman. Because at that time I was on a hunger strike. Because I didn't violate any law, why did you send me here? So at that time, the doctor was using this round-shaped device and moved that around my ribs. So because it hurt my body, so I tried to see what he was doing. So when he put that device on top of my stomach, and he told the policeman that there was nothing in her stomach, he said that to the policeman. I didn't know what else he said. Sorry. There were many people there, standing there, and I didn't know what else he said.
Thank you. Just for the benefit of translation, I have a couple of sentences before the next question, so perhaps you could deal with them all in one go. Your statement describes the torture that you were subjected to in the labour camp, and it is extensive. You have explained that the worst day was on the 19th of April 2001. You are under no obligation to discuss what happened. It is in your witness statement, and the panel do have that. And you are aware that this is a public hearing, but if that is an account you would like to explain, please go ahead.
是的，
Yes. Although I feel this is very painful for me, but I still want to say it. This happening 2004, April 19th. I will never forget it. This touched me so much, hurt me so much. They called my name, and there was another practitioner's name. There were about 10 Falun Gong practitioners' names. They called the 10 of us to Masanja Hospital. On this day, they used a big van, a very old, tired van. They put us into the van and sent us to a male detention center. And the other one to 2 male Falun Gong practitioners. We didn't know where they took us. Afterwards, we knew that they sent us to the forced re-education center. So there was also another Falun Gong practitioner was sent there, but afterwards this practitioner was dead. So one of us, for whatever reason, was sent to somewhere we didn't know where that is. So the 9 of us were being sent to a small white building. The 9 of us was being distributed into different cells. I was sent to a room. In front of the room, there were about 9 policemen guarding there in front of the door. There were total about 10 rooms, and I was sent to the first room. And the other person was sent to the next room. And in my room, there were 4 men sitting there in the room. When it comes to the night, I asked them, why don't you leave the room? He said, I told them I want to go to sleep. Why don't you leave the room? He said, I never heard anyone could sleep. So they didn't allow me to sleep. He said there was a Falun Gong practitioner that stayed here for 18 days, and then this practitioner went insane. Because they didn't allow this practitioner to sleep for over 10 days, so he went insane. So I told him that I want to go to toilet. The toilet was just right opposite my room. So when I saw the toilet, there was a temporary partition in the room next to the toilet that can accommodate about 1 person. And when I passed that room, I saw about 20, 30 men lying there. And some people were sitting there, some people were lying there or talking. About 10 o'clock in the evening. An inmate was there in the hallway, say, the country is like a hooligan. And then she tried to run away from the room. She rushed out of the room. And I rushed out of the room as well. I didn't see what was going on in the room. And because in the detention center, no one are allowed to wear any belts. So they pull down my pants and then strip me, and then they keep beating me. Afterwards, in the night, there came in about over 10 men. They came in with a camera. One man rolled on my body, beat me up on my head. And all my memories stayed there, and I couldn't recall anything anymore. I can only recall the man was hitting on my head. And when I woke up, I was so desperate, completely desperate. I stared up. In front of me, I saw a man was taking video recording of me. And next to me, there were 3 men next to me doing something so humiliating to me. The man over there was laughing. One man was pulling my feet and told to me that don't pretend to be dead, don't pretend to be dead. I was sexually harassed by them. I must tell the world if I can be alive. I want to tell the whole world. I want to sue you all. I want to tell everyone what kind of inhumane deed you have done. Several times I was persecuted to death, but I need to remain fortitude that I want to survive, I want to live. Such a hooligan, so evil, such a hooligan deed. And lawless is so brutal, so cruel. It was too savage. So there was a small white building there outside of the main building. I hope investigators can go there to investigate, because I know after I was detained and sent there, there were other Falun Gong practitioners being sent there. I don't think they will strip down that building. And you can check that on 19th of April, what happened on that day. I told them that I will never forget this day. This is 2001, April 19th. As long as I am alive, I will sue you. I will tell the world. And I told the police so on that day.
Police officers and the doctors who were involved in your various different detentions and your transfers to and from different prisons or hospitals, and we have recorded that list. I will ask the panel now if they have any further questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yin. Could you just describe in a little more detail, and you have given us some information, the underground hospital, please?
With regards to the underground hospital, I asked about this building and they told me it was a shelter for air raid because it was very steep. When we went down there, there's iron bars in front of the doors, in front of which there's a desk. There's no book on top of the desk. Under normal circumstances, there should be a young man sitting there guarding. However, they were not in uniform. So in that shelter, there were many male prisoners being detained there. And I could hear people yelling, "Help, help." There were one person there and went insane. It was an insane man. So this is a political prisoner of conscience. He was detained there, and there was someone went insane and put wastage on his face. And went down there, on the left side, there were female prisoners being detained there. And one of that room, there is iron bar room. And there are 2 rooms inside of that. So it's number 1 room and number 2 room. And I was sent to, I'm not sure if that's number 1 room or number 2 room, but one of the room. But in the very beginning, I was put into the hallway. So next to the room, there's several round-shaped containers. So, and these prisoners are only allowed to go to use that container for urine twice a day. In the morning, in the evening, twice 2 days. They were only allowed to use the toilet twice a day, but during that time, if you want to go to toilet, you can only use that round-shaped retainer. And in that detention center, there were also many male prisoners being detained there. I could hear people yelling, "Help me, help me." And I heard people died there. That's what I saw and what I heard about the underground detention center. It's roughly about 2002, but I forgot particular date. But I was sent there once again. Afterwards, I was not sent to that underground detention center, and then I was sent to the main building.
Thank you. You showed us a piece of paper with a photograph. I'm sorry, I forget the name of. I think it was Sue. Would we be able to have a copy of that document, please?
Yes, I can give it to you. This is Shu Jing, and this is the lead supervisor in charge of supervising me. Because of persecution Falun Gong, she was promoted, and this was in charge of. She was the captain in charge of me. She was also promoted. And when I went to the U.S. for the hearing, I also gave this document to the U.S. government, Congressional Executive Commission. on China.
Thank you. When you were in Masanjia labor camp, you have stated that a doctor was responsible for persecuting you. Could you tell us what he did, please?
This is it. He's not in charge of persecuting people, but he's in charge of sending practitioners to hospital. He's a policeman. So he, along with this person, Qi Fuying, they use a white van, sent me to Masanja Hospital. This is Masanja. Hold on. This is the front door of Masanja. But if you want to go into Masanja, you need to enter into this gate. From the front door to this gate is about 5-6 minutes drive. So the hospital is right next to this gate. But it's a shame that we didn't take the building in the photo, so the photo doesn't show that hospital. But on the photo, you can only see the gate getting into the Masanja Hospital. But it's about 5 minutes distance from the gate to Masanja Hospital. This person is Li Shujuan, over 50 years. He is about 1.5 meter high. It was this person took us to the hospital. He's not doctor nor nurse. He's just someone in charge of sending us to, responsible for managing that, to send us to the hospital. Her name is Li Shujuan.
Ms. Yin, if she's prepared to give us that.
We will obtain them for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In your statement, at a certain point, you talk about police who helped you secretly. Could you tell us a bit more about that, please?
It was in 2001, May 10th. I was secretly transported to Longchan Re-Education Center. There was one educator, surname is Zhang. Because I was transferred to another re-education center. So Longchang Re-Education Center didn't want us to die there, because my understanding is if we die there, they didn't want us to die there to give that may cause some extra trouble. But I told them about my experience of being persecuted, and I told him that the country shouldn't treat Falun Gong practitioners like this. So when the policeman heard about my story, he secretly contacted my mother. So my mother went to the Longchan Re-Education Center, and they received my mother, and I was able to see my mother at that time. So the policeman secretly helped me. So at that time, my mother came to Longchan Re-Education, and my mother told me that there was a guy hold me, so I know what happened to you. And at that time, the only person who could know I was sent to Longchan Re-Education Center was this person. There was another man who helped me. During that time, I was coughing with blood, and his surname is Ying, the same surname as mine. And when he saw me spitting blood, he say, drink this soy milk. He gave me a cup of soy milk. Child, please drink this, otherwise you'll be died for no reason. I could feel that he really meant that, because he also beaten up Falun Gong practitioner before. But he seen Falun Gong practitioners being very good people. Afterwards, he always helped us. So this policeman Ying helped me secretly. However, the re-education center knew about this policeman. Then he was sent away. I didn't know where he was sent, but he was no longer in the same place.
Thank you. I only have one more question. So you mentioned that 4 defences hit you. Could you just tell us who they were? Were they other prisoners?
Which year was that? Could you please remind me? Was that policeman or... Because I was often beaten.
Sanjia.
Can you remind me, because I forgot which part of the statement mentioned about my Sanja experience. Was that the part I was pulled out to do the blood check?
It was when you were asked to do a urine test.
Oh, yes. At that time, I was very scared. Because when they took my blood, they used a very, very thick tube and syringe. Afterwards, they asked me to do the urine test. And they...
衣服营还有那个主要是释放人员，就是我不知道你不是4个人，是释放人员，他呢就是帮助协助警察的，就是管理这些管理就是劳教人员的这么释放人员，释放嘛，防火、防盗、防逃跑、防什么我就不太明白，它是释放。
So the police assistants, these assistants help the police to avoid people, these prisoners, to run away. They are not policemen. They were just assistant guard.
To close by saying thank you for telling us, and by telling this tribunal, I think it will help the world to know your story. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for making yourself available to the tribunal.
谢谢，我也非常感谢。
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I will find a link and then I will send the information about my Sanja. I will send an email to you.
Mr. Sabi?
Our next witness is Ms. Su Zhen, who's joining us from Toronto.
Thank you.
Where it is 10:45 a.m. 1056.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Can you hear us? Good morning. Can you hear us?
能听到。
Thank you very much.
能听到。
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you for making yourself available to give evidence to the tribunal. And I'm sure you'll understand that what we want to hear from you is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Mr. Sabi.
Thank you. Good morning.
是的，
Yes,
You were arrested in June 2001
谢谢。
and were sentenced for 3.5 years for being a Falun Gong practitioner. Is that correct?
对的，
yes,
You're graduated from university and you have done engineering and you are working in a government entity. Can you tell the tribunal what happened after you were arrested?
是的。好。
respected chairman and lawyer, counsel. So I was arrested for my work in 2001 June. When I was at work, I was dragged out of my work by 610 office. Because I practice Falun Gong, they asked me to give up my belief, so they arrested me.
When you were taken to the detention center, did they started checking you medically? And if so, what sort of checks they carried out on you?
好的，我告诉你啊，就是当时的时候我。
After I was arrested for my work, I was sent to Changi District Detention Center. So when I was sent there, they checked my whole body, asked me to take off all my clothes, but I didn't want to do that. I did not cooperate because I thought that was humiliation, so I didn't agree to take off my clothes. So they sent me to an isolation cell until late night, about midnight, 2 o'clock. They allowed me to go back to the prison. That cell room was very small. It's over 10 square meters. It's very small. But inside of that cell room, there were about 20 prisoners. So we all sleeping on their side. You can't sleep on your back. It's just like stacking the bricks. Inside that cell, there was also a toilet. When it was in the morning, they asked me and then interrogated me, and then they asked me to give up practicing Falun Gong. I didn't agree. I didn't want to give up because I have improved so much physically and mentally. In the past, I had health problem with my heart. I had a illness. So after practicing Falun Gong, all this has been improved and I was healed. So I didn't want to give up. We Chinese have a phrase that if there's one moment of grace, should be paid back with a lifetime. So I really appreciate my pastor My work was an engineer, but they didn't let me back to my work unit. They couldn't find any sufficient evidence of any crime, so I was detained in this detention center for over 1 year. They tried to find any evidence, tried to sentence me, but they couldn't find any. They didn't have any warrant, any legal proceedings. There was no arrest warrant. There was no certificate. So after sentence, I was put in Shanghai Women's Prison. So they asked me, what was your sentence? What was your crime? I said, I didn't commit any crime. I practiced Falun Gong. Because of these words, I was put in a very small cell, eating, sleeping, go to toilet in the same cell. Once I was there, I was not allowed to talk to any people. We cannot greet each other among practitioners. We cannot talk. We were not permitted to go to toilet. And we could only use a little bucket in each cell. Inside the prison, they were drug users, murderers. They were very, very violent to Falun Gong practitioners. They made us to work from every morning about 5 o'clock, wake up until the night. We had to weave the sweater, 2 to 3 sweaters. This is very, very brutal thing. There are many, many people could not accomplish these tasks. Whoever cannot finish the job cannot sleep. They were not allowed to sleep. Even more brutal things, they were deprived of sleep. And they would play video to slander Falun Gong and my master. Sleep was deprived. After watching this video, they force you to say something slanderous. Because I stand by my belief, so I didn't want to cooperate with them. I was detained for 3.5 years. During this time, in first half of 2007, the women's prison notified all the practitioners, Falun Gong practitioners, that they were going to conduct some health check. There were 4 big buses fitted with very advanced equipment. All the windows were covered by the curtains in the bus. So every time there was only one practitioner get onto the bus, so one practitioner would go, one person going to the first bus and then come out and then go to the second bus, and then the second person would go into the first bus. This is a very strange way of doing health check. They do a very comprehensive check, abdominal, internal organs, heart, etc. They tested me. They did this. They also did this ultrasound. They did a speech out. This person, and when the doctor was doing ultrasound on me, he said, "This person isn't going to work. It's a mess." Then call another doctor over, and the prison supervisor. I was laying there and listening to them. So the doctor pressed on my ribs. He asked me, "How do you feel about here?" I say, "I don't feel a thing." They looked at each other. So this kind of checks went on in the hospital for several days. And the policeman said, "Look, it's only you Falun Gong practitioners receive this kind of treatment. We don't even get this kind of health check." And there was one time the police in the prison called me out and said they are going to test my eyes. I said, I don't have any problem with my eyes. Why do you want to test my eyes? And I say, if I want to go home, would you just allow me to go home? And this police didn't have any words to say, so he took me back to the prison gate, and then we were waiting for the bus. But still, there was no bus coming, and the police said, "All right, just go in." When I was detained there, I didn't know anything about organ harvesting. However, after we did a health check, some of the people stay there, but many practitioners from outside of that area, they went disappear. And then until 2006, organ harvesting was revealed in the news. I recalled my experience of having these two kind of health check. I was very scared because if at that time my organs were alright, my eyes were alright, it might as well be me to be organ harvested. I felt I was a survivor of this organ harvesting. So I want to tell you all this. Organ harvesting indeed exists in China. In addition, 2015, I called a Chinese hospital to inquire about whether they could get organs. I pretended to be someone who whose relative need organs. And I say, how long can you get the organs? They say, very quick, as long as you bring your health document, very fast. And they say, Zhejiang University and in Shanghai, they have plenty of stock. They say, stock. They had plenty of stock. So at that time, they didn't specifically say Falun Gong practitioners' organs, but they say, you come over now. We can do it very quickly, immediately. So now I recall at that time, after the health check, some people went disappear. And now I think it's very likely that these people are no longer in this world. So even now, there's still something like this happening in China. So I hope this tribunal, counsel, lawyers, whoever who is concerned about organ harvesting in China, I hope you can do something for Falun Gong practitioners. Do justice, please. This is my experience.
Thank you. The tribunal may have some questions for you now.
Could I ask, please? We often hear the expression from other witnesses, to be sent to Xinjiang. Are you aware of that phrase in Chinese, to be sent to Xinjiang? It seems to have something to do with Xinjiang being a site of organ harvesting.
Yes, I've heard such kind of saying. I didn't hear about this myself, but I heard from other people. There's a practitioner from Finland. She said that she was told that if you don't follow our command, we will make you disappear. Your family won't even know where you are. We will send you far away.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Bao, in your statement, you say that the medical checks started in the first half of 2003. You were sent to prison starting from the 1st of June 2001. Between the time of 1st of June 2001 to middle of 2003, were you subjected to any medical examination?
Yes. Yes, I have that before. Yes, we were often being checked or tested in the infirmary in the prison. It was all Falun Gong practitioners. Other prisoners didn't receive treatment like this.
Even before 2003, yes?
Yes. But not, yes, but it's only in the infirmary, not in the bus.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. May I also ask you, when and how did you manage to leave China?
I was sentenced 3.5 years, 2004. At the end of 2004, I went home. It was about 2005, the first half of 2005. Because my son was in Denmark, and I was thinking I was being detained for so many years, didn't see my son. So applied to see my son in Denmark in the first half of 2005. However, they didn't give me my passport. Every time I sent in an application, they refused my application and did not give me the passport. So I went to other departments. Why I was not given the passport? I filed 4 times. I submitted 4 applications. They said because you practice Falun Gong, you don't get passport. So I look for officials on public security, exit entry administration, etc. They all try to, kick balls around, didn't want to answer my question directly. And they say that the exit entry administration say that it's the public security bureau won't give you passport. And I went to the public security bureau. They say, well, the police station said not. Why didn't you allow me to see my family? Don't you have daughters and sons? So the policemen say, well, why don't you think about this? Do we have the authority to do that? Well, it was from the higher level. Other higher authorities didn't allow to give you a passport. So I have no other ways to do that. They keep bouncing by this, kicking balls between themselves. But I have recorded all the conversation and recorded their names, and I posted this story to the Falun Gong website. Tell the world. as a citizen of China, how come I was deprived this right to see my family abroad? Why? So I recorded everything and posted everything onto Minghui website. So about 2 weeks later, 610 office sent someone to come to me. They took initiative to find me and said, "You want to see your son, right? Okay, you can do that." Then they gave me some conditions and they negotiated with me. So if you go out, you need to do such and such. He asked, "Why do you distribute flyers?" I say, "We just want to tell people that Falun Gong doesn't commit suicide. We don't burn ourselves." So the self-immolation was fake. So the whole thing was faked and staged. And I told them if that was true and that burning of the hair was not possible, and if a girl's throat being cut off, how could she still sing in the hospital? How could that be possible? So in China, there's no other way for us to tell the facts. This is the only way we can tell other people the facts, to distribute flyers. This is the only way we can tell people that the self-immolation was fake. So the police heard about this, and they had no words to say. They have no response. And they say, "Okay, you can go." So I have submitted 4 times. You always rejected me. So this time, what kind of tricks do you have? I said, "You have families, you have daughters, son, and you have parents. It's very normal if you want to see parents. What you are doing is inhumane." They said, "Okay, you go ahead." And I say, "Well, I didn't want to go anyway." And the police say, "Well, you go. Please go." So I could hear from the police that, okay, they allowed me to go. So next day I went to the police, and then they did give me passport. So afterwards, I heard from other people saying that they actually wanted me to go, because what you have done to post all these facts to Minghui Net is causing some trouble for them. So they would prefer you to go away. So they would prefer you to keep silent, stop spreading all this information. That was the true reason that they allow me to go abroad. So in August 2007, I left and I went to Denmark. So from 2005 until August 2007, it was about 2.5 years it took. I applied 4 times, and only then I was allowed to go to Denmark.
Thank you, Ms. Bao.
Ms. Bao, I have a couple of questions for you. You recall the situation that when you were undergoing an ultrasound check, a doctor said to his other colleagues that it's a mess, full of stones everywhere. She's useless. Was he referring to your kidneys?
He just said all the organs are not good. They are all useless, full of stones. He was just referring to this part of the body: liver, kidneys. Liver.
My second question is about your phone investigation. So you were advised to contact Dr. Jang Yuwu. Did you contact him?
Can you say the name again, please?
We were advised to contact a doctor who was in charge of the transplant center, Dr. Sanjiang Wu. Do you recall that if you contacted him as a follow-up investigation?
At the end, there was no result because I contacted him as a relative of someone who needed a kidney. So the video stopped. The line was disconnected. We are doing the connection again.
Mr. Chairman, if you consider it appropriate, we can adjourn for 10 minutes. And if the connection is made, we'll connect with her and then we will continue with the rest of the program.
Yes, was the next break to be a 10-minute break in any event, or was it to be a bit longer?
As you prefer.
Well, I know we are pressed for time. What should we say? Meet again at 24:20. How about 22:22?
Thank you.
22 the hour, please, ladies and gentlemen.